birthright citizenship, it's over. Somebody comes over, walks across a line, has a baby. Now we take care of the baby for the next 85 years. We will end, finally, birthright citizenship. It's costing us so many billions of dollars. My policy will choke off a major incentive for continued illegal immigration. We will restore sovereignty starting on day one. Birthright. That's a big one. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, just watch this. Republicans across the political spectrum are calling the Supreme Court illegitimate after it overturned Trump's birthright citizenship executive order and enforced the 14th Amendment as written. And while they are freaking out and calling for constitutional amendments and saying that this court is illegitimate, if you look at the opinion, the court came dangerously close to actually ruling for the president, and it's a story that's being underreported. The final decision was 6-3 on the merits of the case that the executive order changing the 14th Amendment's text essentially was unconstitutional. 3 justices would have upheld Trump's executive order, but there actually is a 4th. Justice Kavanaugh agreed with the ultimate ruling, not because the executive order violated the 14th Amendment, but because it violated a specific statute. And so Kavanaugh would have agreed with the other 3 conservative justices that Trump's rewriting of the 14th Amendment was constitutional. And so ultimately it was a 5-4 decision in a lot of respects. All it takes is for 1 retirement or 1 death on the Supreme Court, and this court could easily flip even more. And you could have a scenario where in 2 years' time, you have a similar case brought up to the court and the decision could be radically different. That's the story that needs to be reported on.
The 2030 agenda is in full effect, and again, you're being played, right? They will never get rid of birthright citizenship because it would destroy the U.S. economy by the way that they outsource production for cheaper wages for the corporate structure, and the way that they import all these immigrants to come in to also pay cheaper wages. It goes to trillions of dollars into the economy, the U.S. economy. They will never allow that. They also extracts the world's best and most educated, and they bring them to the U.S. in order to advance themselves in the sciences, agricultural, and everything else. So while you're being distracted by all the news and all the stupid stuff, nobody's looking behind the curtain and paying attention to what's going on. And I tell you guys this all the time when we go into the classroom. So Donald Trump can say that's all he wants, right? But the way the U.S. economy is built, it's not built where you just have a nation and they close the borders and those nations primarily deal with themselves. It's been a nation, it's outside of us, the foundational Black Americans that's been here longer than anybody, that's been here from the beginning, right? The majority, all these people here are immigrants. They're all immigrants. They came here, and after we built this place, and it was built off the blood of our backs, right? We built the foundation of this country. Other groups started to come, and they've been here for over 100 years, some of them, and they are part of the economy, the ever-growing, fast-moving economy. And through U.S. policy, they are never going to get rid of birthright citizenship. It would destroy the country. They know that. Those that actually follow the right things understands this. So it's all a smokescreen. It's all a distraction. And, you know, Trump is going around saying, well, birthright citizenship was for the children of slaves. And yeah, it may have been when they wrote it, right? But you guys never honored it. You guys never honored who we were. You guys never honored who we were, right? Or wanted to give us reparations. It's said on Congress floor. You never made us a distinct group where now you want to use that, but it's too late. You didn't honor it, right? And because you didn't honor it, it's fallen flat and it has no power. So now when you want to get rid of birthright citizenship, you're not able to get rid of it because the actual children of slaves, you ignored them and you ignored their plight. Right? So, but you went on national TV and was talking like this.
Now we have another one coming up, which is birthright citizenship. And we're the only country in the world that has it. You step into our country and you're all of a sudden a citizen. You come in a certain way. This was not meant for Chinese billionaires to have their children become citizens of our country. This was meant, or other rich people, poor people. This was meant for the babies of slaves. This was signed right after the Civil War. You look at the dates alone, immediately after. This was having to do with the babies of slaves. And people have used it. And if this is allowed to stand, it will be a disaster economically for our country. and you'll have 25% of the people coming into our country coming in through birthright citizenship, and we won't have any control. This decision by the Supreme Court is a very big one. They'll probably rule against me because they seem to like doing that. Frankly, I'm not happy with some of the decisions. Look at NIL. Look what they've done. Look what the courts have done to college sports. They're destroying college sports. They're destroying universities. But birthright citizens are a big deal. And literally, if that's allowed to stand, and again, this was a civil war. This was right after the Civil War, and it has to do with the babies of slaves. It doesn't have to do with the babies of very rich people coming into the country. One of them came in with 57 children, okay, 57 children. They're using the system, and it's usually people that hate our country, if you want to know the truth. Birthright citizen is done by no other country in the world the way we're doing it. We're a laughing stock.
So there's books written on this. There's been studies written on this about those of you that follows immigration laws all the way back from the 70s, all the way to the 80s when you deal with Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr., when you deal with in the 90s with the Clintons, and you deal with I remember what was it back in the day with Walter Mondale, and they was having their immigration policies and their arguments about immigration and what it would do to the U.S. policy, right? So let's look at this, because there's books written on this, but I'm gonna give you the just the AI overview this morning, right? The U.S. economy operates as a dual system where global outsourcing lowers corporate costs and customer prices, while immigration drives domestic labor supply and population growth. However, these two forces have very different impacts on American workforce. Outsourcing, global labor arbitrage. Outsourcing allows U.S. companies to send jobs from manufacturing to customer service and IT to countries with lower wages. Benefit: it reduces operational costs, generates corporate profits, and helps keeps customer prices down. Drawbacks: it displaces domestic workers and puts downward pressure on wages, primarily impacting lower income and middle class communities. Immigration: immigrants are essential to the U.S. economy because they fill labor shortages and add to the shrinking pool of workage people. Labor force: between 2019 and 2024, foreign-born workers accounted for the vast majority of net growth in American labor force. Essential industries: immigrants represent roughly a quarter of the construction workforce, critical roles in healthcare, and 1 in 5 entrepreneurs. Right? Taxes and spending: immigrants are significant customers, 1.7 trillion in spending power. Right? And contribute billions more to Social Security and Medicare than they consume in public benefits. While outsourcing hold on, matter of fact, let me go over here, right? Let's go over here real fast, because I want y'all to see why they'll never outlaw it, right? Outlawing birthright citizenship will cost the U.S. economy trillions of dollars and millions of workers, shrinking the tax base. And that right there, shrinking that tax base, they're not getting rid of that. You're a fool if you think that these corporations is going to get rid of their money and the way that they make their money. No, I keep telling y'all guys, man, they set up a system to make you believe you have a voice when you really don't. They running this stuff, man. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. And discouraging highly skilled global talent from coming to the country. I told you that they outsource, they destabilize other countries, and then outsource. Hold on, let me show my face for this. They destabilize other countries, and then they outsource their work there, right? Where they could for low wages, where they can make more money for their corporations that they don't have to do here in America. So destabilize those countries, have them work for damn near free over there where we're not paying nothing to get things done, and bring it back to the Americans, people to be consumed. Man, this is gangsterism. And you think that they're going to outlaw birthright citizenship? Are you crazy? I'm over here laughing, man. Right? This would expand the unauthorized immigrant population by millions over the coming decades, creating an economic disenfranchised underclass, right? Trillion dollar productivity and tax losses. A peer-reviewed study from research at Princeton, Cornell, and Notre Dame estimates that the beneficiaries of birthright citizenship will contribute 7.7 trillion to the U.S. economy over their lifetimes, and their loss would strip hundreds of thousands of college-educated workers from the labor pool. Creation of precautions underclass. Without citizenship, U.S.-born children of unauthorized immigrants or temporary visa holders would grow up with constrained access to higher education, professional jobs, and federal safety nets. Brain drain, right? Brain drain and sector shortage. Restricting citizenship affects the children of high-skilled workers on visas. HB 1001. This could prompt global talent to seek friendlier environments, exacerbating labor shortages in vital fields like healthcare, agriculture, and construction. Increase unauthorized population. The Migraine Policy Institute estimates that restricting birthright citizenship could swell the unauthorized population by millions over the next 50 years, significantly disrupting local communities and labor markets. So what I'm telling you is over the last 150 years, they already messed things up. It's too late to reverse it because the whole economy is based off of what they did. And this is why they don't want to give us reparations, right? It's not rocket science. So now you have them on here. Now you have racist people like Megyn Kelly. She's angry. She's upset. She's over here talking like this, man.
Essentially happened now is that anybody from China can come over here, have a baby, and that baby will be an American no matter what. They can leave the day after the child is born, the minute after the child is born. And honestly, there was a real question. I, like many people, when I first saw this, the challenge to this, it was long before President Trump's executive order. It was written by a legal scholar and, saying this is not what the founders intended. I too thought, what do you mean? That this is sort of how we all grew up, thinking that if you're born here, you're a citizen, and that's kind of the end of it. If you actually look at the history of that practice here in the United States, and then what happened after the 14th Amendment was passed, you see that's wrong. You find out.
She's so racist, she don't even want to mention that it was for the children of slaves no more because she heard the grassroots talking. And like we said, well, you guys failed to acknowledge us as a people. Y'all failed. Now y'all want to use us and say it was for us without no tangibles or benefits. Man, miss me. That's why y'all ain't. That's why I don't have no power, and that's why you're losing.
That's actually not the way the 14th Amendment was treated, the way the founders understood this country would operate, and there was plenty of basis to strike down birthright tourism based on the particular phrasing of the 14th Amendment, right? You have to be born here and subject to the jurisdiction. So now
they all crying. So now they all crying. They don't know. They don't know what to do, man. This thing is real funny, man. This thing is real crazy. So people all over the country is talking about it, but most people are distracted, man. Like they're not really looking at it from the perspective of the way they should be seeing it, right? Let's look.
Next here tonight to that landmark decision coming down from the U.S. Supreme Court today that has hundreds of you commenting on our Facebook page. The Supreme Court justices there rejecting President Trump's executive order to limit birthright citizenship. There were crowds of people waiting the court's decision in Washington.
Our Tampa Bay 28 reporter Annette Gutierrez has been following through on immigration and citizenship issues. And tonight she's hearing your voice on this landmark ruling.
I came out here to La Teresita restaurant in Tampa to hear what people have to say about the U.S. Supreme Court's decision. Some people tell me they were disappointed, while others tell me they are very happy about it.
The Supreme
she was happy as hell.
Court upheld it because it's constitutionally correct.
I'm very disappointed that was the decision by the Supreme Court.
While enjoying their lunch at La Teresita, both Anthony Burgos and his wife, along with Efrain Gaigel and his family, were keeping tabs on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ephraim got Gail and them was black. They like, hey, listen, man. I keep trying to. I'm telling y'all, they're not getting rid of that. This is the 2030 agenda is in full effect. And I told you guys that Trump and his cronies is on stage left. They are exposing the male patriarchal society that doesn't fit for the new age that we're going into. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could say, but listen, y'all the 2030 agenda is an all-inclusive society for everybody for sustainable development. Go look up the UN 2030 agenda. We're walking right into it, right? This is where you see women coming into power all over the place, women and children's rights, LGBTQ rights. There's a whole bunch of things. The world is shifting. There's a paradigm shift coming, and they're exposing on stage left the old world to do away with it. That's all it is, man. So all this stuff is a smokescreen. Take the emotion out and just pay attention.
Decision. After President Trump signed an executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship for some children born in the U.S., the issue headed to the nation's highest court. Tuesday, the justices ruled the order violates the Constitution, keeping birthright citizenship in place. The decision upholds more than a century of legal precedent that most people born on American soil are U.S. citizens. For Geigel, the ruling shows America staying true to its colors and to the principles it was founded on.
There absolutely needs to be checks and balances. You can't have one individual making every decision for an entire nation. So the system is working.
Meanwhile, for Burgos, he says he feels like this is a step backward for America, saying too many people take advantage of the American system.
They come here on purpose just to get the citizenship, and this is just like a back door into becoming a citizen. I think be a citizen of this nation, it takes more than just being born here, by accident.
Danielle Hernandez is an immigration attorney who previously served as assistant chief counsel for the Department of Homeland Security, where she tried many cases for the federal government. She says there are proper ways to change the Constitution, and an executive order is not one of them.
I think it was a sound decision. The proper way to amend the Constitution, to change the Constitution, is by a vote.
Hernandez says the decision reaffirms a long-standing interpretation of the Constitution and the process for making constitutional changes.
To have, the 125 years of birthright citizenship being upheld, and just a nod to the separation of powers, right? That's something that makes our democracy unique.
Now let me say this, right? I think birthright citizenship is wrong, but it doesn't matter what I think. It goes with the last over 125 years of what they was doing with the U.S. economy. And to just uproot that will destroy the economy. Listen, they both are bipartisan in this. It's a distraction. The 2030 agenda is coming, is in full effect, man. Look, hold on. When you go over here, right? When you go over here, hold on. Real fast, right? Real fast. The global context of the 2030 agenda. The 2030 agenda generally refers to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which expediently recognize migration as a driver of global development. Under SDG Target 16, member states are encouraged to provide secure legal status and protect human rights for all migrants, while the UN and international policies circles view inclusive citizenship and legal pathways as standard practice for sustainable development. U.S. political factions remain deeply divided on the issue, balancing national sovereignty and constitutional mandates and human rights. Right. So the thing is, this is a world global agenda, man, and it's in full effect, man. And everybody's upset. Even Nick Fuentes, like, he's angry, man. We just covering everybody.
Now, in the decision, which says that it goes against the Constitution, you had two conservatives joining in the majority, Thomas and Amy Coney Barrett, a 5-4 decision. Now, what that means is that if one of those votes went the other way, then that means we could have probably changed the federal statute and made birthright citizenship against the law. If just one of those votes went the other way, it could have been the three liberals and Justice Roberts, And if Amy Coney Barrett went with the other conservatives, that would mean there would have been a 5-4 majority saying that you could overturn birthright citizenship in the federal law, and there would be a call on the legislature to do exactly that. If 2 of the conservatives in the other decision went the other way, like let's say,
I want y'all to pay attention to what he about to say, because I keep trying to tell you it's a smokescreen. He won't prove my point. That's why I say here, we don't get emotional. We just pay attention. I've been teaching on this stuff for the last 8 years.
Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, then birthright citizenship would have been overturned. Period. End of story. It would have been overturned in the federal law. It would have been overturned in the Constitution. You would have no more birthright citizenship in America. And what is so painful is that those 2 judges in both of those decisions were both appointed by Trump. Your 6-3 decision comes by way of Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, both of whom were Trump appointees.
This is where I tell you guys that I don't care for neither one of them, both sides. This is a joke. So Trump come in with his chest up, all his bravado, talking all his trash, but those people, listen, they're going to side with him on certain issues, but when it comes to this, and the $1 trillion that the economy is connected to, the way the corporations outsource opportunities for other nations on low wages and bring in people and bring in the best, and they're not going to mess up their money. No, they're not. Congress is not going to go against that for a man that's only in office for a short time. They're going to put things right back to the way it was, man. I told y'all, this is a joke. It's a joke. This was to give the patriarchal male his last hurrah before the 2030 agenda is enacted. That's all this is, man. That's all this is.
If they voted the other way, it would have been 5-4 in the other direction. The 5-4 decision comes by way of Amy Coney Barrett. If she voted the other way, it would have been a 5-4 in the other direction. If Trump, who had 3 Supreme Court picks, he nominated Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. If he had simply appointed 3 good justices that were as good or better than Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas, birthright citizenship would be over. So who can we blame about this? Think about it. You had a Republican president, President Trump, who was empowered throughout his first term to appoint 3 Supreme Court judges. You had a Republican Senate for all 4 of those years in Trump's first term to confirm those judges. You have right now a 6-3 majority on the court. You have 2 very conservative conservatives and 3 Trump appointees. That's a 5-4 majority. And you have Trump as president all over again since 2025. What more do the Republicans need to carry out our vision for the country? Think about it. 3 Supreme Court picks, a majority on the Supreme Court, the Republican Senate confirming, the Republican president nominating. You have a Republican Congress right now. You have a Republican president sending up the executive order. Literally, what is the excuse not to overturn birthright citizenship? Who do we have to blame? Steven Crowder.
Hey, listen, enough of that crying, man. Listen, cry me a river, man. Listen, the agenda is the agenda. It doesn't matter whether it's Republican or Democrat. The UN 2030 agenda is going into full effect. And matter of fact, I'm not going to say that either. But the thing is, I showed you the way the economy is built, and there's books written on this. Economic strategists talked about this. This country is built. When they say this is a nation of immigrants, and a lot of times us foundational Black Americans get upset, I understand, because we're pretty much ignored when it comes to our plight. But they built this country off of our backs and our blood, and then after they built it, they pushed us to the side and brought in immigrants and made them the economy, and made them contribute to the economy and made us the consumers. So when they say that this country built off of immigrants, they're making their money based off the influx of immigrants and outsourcing money to immigrants for low wages. So that when they say this nation is built on immigrants, it's the way the corporate structure is set up. It's the way the corporate structure is set up. So we got to stop being so emotional and listen to words and pay attention and go study in the classroom. Because there's two different things operating. They know the country was built off of us, but then they started to create their superpower going forward based off of outsourcing and bringing in immigrants and also adding to the economy. So this is why they won't end birthright citizenship, because if they had everything being done here and it was still being done by us, right, and other groups, maybe they would, but they can't. They can't. They simply can't. The whole economy will fall apart. So y'all let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comments section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.